Alright, so I want to do a video here on comparing the Stihl FS-56 trimmer to the Echo SRM-225. I have an older video on this, but I just wanted to make a new one and kind of do a little bit of an update here. So before we get started here, I just want to take a moment to say that I bought both these trimmers with my own money. Nobody's paying me here, no one's telling me what to say, and there's no sponsorships or anything like that involved. So with that being said, both these trimmers, you can't go wrong with either one of them really. They're both tried and true, they both last forever, they both work great. These are both pretty much top of the line prosumer grade trimmers, and I know the Echo claims to be a commercial grade engine, and it is, but really what they mean by that is they use this same engine on the 2620 trimmer. So this is really, I mean, you can use it commercially and it'll last a long time, but it really doesn't have as much power as some of their higher grade commercial grade trimmers. Now, I personally believe that either of these trimmers are perfectly fit for any homeowner use. They'll absolutely last forever with the proper maintenance and whatnot, and they're obviously both tried and true. So starting off with the engines here, both of these are super easy to start. One of the major differences though is that on the Stihl here, you just got to take this cover off to really get to the carburetor and air filter there, and you need a screw to do that. Now when you buy this trimmer, they'll actually give you a little tool for that, and it works just fine. But one of the differences on the Echo here is it's going to be a little bit easier to service just because they have this toolless system here, where you just take this cover off and you can access your air filter quick and easy there. Other thing I want to give props to the Echo for is making it super easy to access this spark plug, and they even give you the correct spark plug to put back in there when you do go and service this. Now Echo actually sells these easy service kits where you just buy basically an air filter and spark plug and fuel filter, whatever else you need, whatever gaskets, just in one super easy kit. So they make it extremely easy to service these yourself. Stihl's also super easy. Like I said, you just got to take this cover off, but you're going to have to go and pretty much buy every tune-up part individually for these guys. Fuel tank wise, they both have similar capacity, both not super large, but I will say I do think I go through fuel a little bit faster on the Echo here, and that's really just a fuel consumption thing. I think this Stihl is just a little bit better on gas, but again, not a huge deal. Looking at the choke system on both of these, Stihl uses this system here where you pretty much have your half choke, push in for half choke and then full choke, and then as soon as the engine starts, you can go over here, bump the trigger, and the choke comes off automatically. Over here on the Echo, it's a little bit different. You pretty much, in order to start it, you just flip this guy all the way up. As soon as it starts and runs a little bit, move this back down to half choke, give it another pull, should start right up and run fine, and then you'll just have to manually push this back to run. Now looking at the kill switches on both of these, Stihl uses this button system where you just give it one little push there and then the engine should shut off, whereas Echo over here uses a slide switch. So that's off and that'll be on. I do personally prefer the flip switch there because then you don't accidentally leave it off and then start pulling the thing. But again, not a huge difference and not a big deal. Trigger wise, both these trimmers have a duckbill safety here. At least that's what I'm going to call it, where you have to push the top in order to slide the trigger. Now Stihl's definitely does feel a little bit smoother, and it's easier to operate with one finger here, whereas the Echo only a little bit harder to pull, and usually I use it with two fingers there, and you get a little bit less range of motion. Again, not a huge difference, but definitely something that I prefer on the Stihl. Grip wise, both pretty similar. This guy on the Stihl has a plastic handle here, and over on the Echo it's a little bit more comfortable. You get this rubberized kind of coating on there and get a little bit of a better grip on there. Moving up to the heads here, as you'll see on the Stihl here, I currently don't have a guard on this trimmer. That's personal preference. Some people like them on, some people like them off. You can see I have it on the Echo there. Really, you should leave the guard on here, and I'll tell you why. It's because every guard, pretty much every brand has this, but it'll have a cutter here to actually cut the line. Let's see if I can get to cut the line. Once you bump the line out, it'll cut it to length there, and you don't want to really go any longer than that because you might risk overheating the engine and damaging it further. Although, most guys don't like to run the guard. I have it off of the Stihl, but again, personal preference. So the biggest difference on both of these trimmers is actually going to be on the head here. So now Echo uses a speed feed system. A lot of guys love these, and pretty much the way this works is all you have to do to load it is you just line up this little arrow with the hole on the side here. Once those are lined up, you can take a bunch of line, feed it all the way through to the other side, pull it even, and then you pretty much just wind it up super quick and easy. Now over on the Stihl here, I'm not going to say this is a bad head. I personally prefer this one, but it does take a little bit longer to load. Pretty much the way you load it is you have to take this apart. You pop both sides out like so, and then you'll have a spool that comes out of there, and you have to wind up 2 individual pieces of trimmer line and then carefully load it back into the head without it coming off on you. Now, I will say it is definitely hard to load this, but for homeowner use, you're not going to be loading it all the time. You're probably good with once or twice a season, depending on how often you're trimming. And once you get used to it, it's really not that much of a hassle. The real reason why I prefer this head over the other one, and again, this is personal preference. Going back to the Echo here, you pretty much have this whole surface to bump in order to feed more line out on it, and that's great. But over on the Stihl here, you have just this one part in the middle that'll push up. Now, I personally prefer this just because you can be a little bit more precise, and I find I don't, accidentally bump it as often. But again, personal preference, both work great in my mind. I will say most dealers carry these heads in stock, and you can absolutely just throw one of these speed feed heads on the Stihl if you so prefer. And Stihl actually just came out with their own similar version of a speed feed head, and I did get a chance to use that for a while, and I really like that one because again, that one still has the guard around the edge, and then you get the bump in the middle. So that's, in my mind, really the best of all worlds, but both work great. And obviously this speed feed head is definitely a lot easier to load if you don't want to deal with the hassle. Now, another thing I want to point out is power wise, the Stihl definitely wins all day. I mean, I made another video on this, and a lot of you guys were putting in the comments and stuff how the Echo has plenty of power, and absolutely it 100% does. It makes plenty of power, and it's not trying to make any more, really. It doesn't need any more. But if you're going head to head, I'm going to say the Stihl absolutely has more power. Again, plenty of power on both of these, but the Stihl is definitely going to win in that sector. With that being said, both of these companies both make bigger trimmers, and I've used them all. And if you're going for more power, really just go one up from either of these. Echo makes the 2620. Like I said earlier, they have the same exact engine, but what they do is they have a different intake and different exhaust system, and that'll make a lot more torque and a lot more power. So it just feels like a more powerful trimmer overall. Stihl, same thing. If you get an FS-91R or something like that, it's going to be a lot heavier, but again, makes a lot more power. So if you're deciding between these two, the Stihl definitely has a lot more power. Another thing I want to point out here is both these trimmers actually use, although they have a straight shaft, they use a flexible shaft inside, which is great because as you see on this Stihl here, I actually had someone run it over a while back, and I did my best to kind of bend it back, but if you look closely, it's still bent. And with that flexible shaft in there, it does not matter. This thing still runs great. I've been using it a while like that. It doesn't seem to get any hotter, and it doesn't matter. So both of these have that, and again, a great feature, and definitely saves you if someone does happen to hit it, or it does get bent in some fashion. Now, as far as technical specs go, the Echo is going to be just about 1 pound heavier than the Stihl, dry weight. Not really a noticeable difference. They're both extremely light. Any average person is going to be able to run one of these pretty much all day. They're light as far as trimmers go. And then cutting swath here for the heads. The Echo does have a slightly larger cutting swath, just about a ½ inch bigger. Again, that would be with both the guards on. But I'm pretty confident. I think the Stihl, if you take the guard off, you can get a little bit more cutting swath out of it. Again, you do risk overheating the engine and whatnot, so that's up to you. But yeah, and all these specs can be found right on the Echo and Stihl website directly. So with that being said, that's going to be pretty much it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think or your experience with the two of these in the comment section down below, and let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. But that's going to be pretty much it for this video, you guys. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.